right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Right now, just the YouTube audience catching this in mere seconds. We'll get caught up with the radio folks. A little bit of a technical glitch to start the day, but we wanted to get started. I'm here at my house, as you can see. Tom is at his, and Director Matthew is in the studio. And when he gives me the thumbs up, I'll welcome you radio people in. But, oh, you're in. Okay, good. Hey, everybody's in. Come on in. Come on in. Let me tell you why I'm here, and he's there, and Matthew's there and all that. I've got COVID. Hey, isn't that exciting? So it finally got me and began to feel a little under the weather this morning. Just felt a little tickle. And as the day went on, didn't feel real good. So I might as well get tested. Let's find out. And voila, I've got it. So we will be doing the next few shows anyhow from the house. But feel pretty good otherwise. And just wanted to give you some insight. If you're a friend of mine and you're listening to this, well, just know, were you around me? Were you around me recently? Did I see you in the last 2 days? So if that's the case, just be on the lookout, friends, and be careful. I'll be texting the group that I see on a regular basis. Tom, you're one of the guys I'm going to text, just so you know I got COVID.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good news. Or not. Well, listen, I had it last year, almost a year ago now. So you made it a lot longer than I did. Welcome to the club, and good for you. You had a damn jab before it got you. So
yeah, no, I've been vaccinated and boosted and all that. I'm not overly concerned, but obviously, I want people to be aware, anybody that's close to me or that I've been around. So, and thanks already for some of the well wishes that you guys have thrown out there. I appreciate that. I think we'll be all right. We'll be all right. I'm gonna not feel real well, I'm sure, as the day goes along, but I need to drink more water anyhow, Tom. I really do. I will tell you that the energy levels will probably not be to the norm that you're used to here on the Jeff Cameron Show. So, again, my apologies in advance. Just trying to cobble it together, baby. Cross that finish line together for today and tomorrow, and use the weekend to rest up and feel better. So we'll see. Hey, by the way, I don't know about you, Tom, but there's a lot of chatter out there. I can't get a confirmation just yet, but it could happen today on the show. You're hearing a buzz that Florida State is close to announcing a baseball coach. So I can just tell you that. I'm just going to tell you that it looks like this thing is moving forward. Obviously, I would take that to mean, I don't know, this person hasn't used the name specifically, but I would take that to mean that obviously they're negotiating with Link Jarrett. It's just you're using common sense and putting the pieces together, guys, right? I mean, if you think about this, their season ended, Notre Dame's that is, within 24 to 48 hours. We were beginning to hear chatter that grew louder. My sources began to kind of get excited, to be frank about it. If you like college baseball, if you love Florida State baseball, and this is the guy that you wanted, then you're going to get pumped up. You're going to get excited. So we'll see, knock on wood, that it is. I can't guarantee you that. I do not know, but I do want to tell you as we start the show today, that buzz is out there. It's getting louder, and hopefully it happens while we're on the show today. If it does, we're prepared to break it live here. We'll welcome in Ira, I do think, Gene, possibly, I don't know, whoever would like to join us from the Warchant team that will be providing the story at warchant.com, and then we will certainly talk it up. But, it's weird. What do you do with that? It is just college baseball, but I know in this town, it's certainly a passionate town and a passionate subject, at least as it pertains and by way of comparison to college baseball elsewhere. This is a place that has great tradition, and people, a lot of people, have made their opinions known for a long time, and they're maybe going to get their wish here.
Yeah, again, I think for the fans of Florida State sports that don't really, care that much about baseball, maybe if they make it to Omaha, but they're the casual fans that drop in on non-football or basketball sports when they're in the championship round. What this signals, again, is that you have a decisive and empowered athletic director. This is just another in the chapters that they're rapidly building up in the Michael Alford book, and his legacy. We'll see. There are going to be successes and failures at the next baseball coach, what the soccer coach does moving forward, how the Mike Norvell situation plays out over the next year, and how Michael Alford reacts to what happens coming up this fall. Those are going to determine his fate, but there is no doubt through less than a year of his tenure, my man is quick to move on all fronts, with all sports and is spending aggressively. So that's the thing to me that it continues to be the story for Nole fans who care about football first and then everything else secondary, is that this athletic department seems to be operating with a chain of command. And if that sounds basic, it's sad that it does, but it's nice to hear that it operates with a clear chain of command and that they're doing so, again, with a little bit more in the pocketbook than we expected to see for non-football sports before Michael Alford took over.
Yeah, it's a fun topic, and it's fun to watch play out because I'll be honest with you guys, for many years covering this football program, basketball program, baseball program, Florida State athletics in general, there had been an eroding confidence that things could get done over there efficiently, effectively, in an organized manner that resembled that of the most well-run athletic departments in the country. That's not Florida State's reputation, guys. It just hasn't been. In fact, it's been a knock on Florida State. A lot of people over the years have kind of looked at Florida State and wondered how the program, athletics in general, were as successful as they were for a sustained period of time, given a level of disorganization is the best way to say it. And that's not me heaping blame on certain individuals within that athletic department, but rather collectively. I don't believe that it was an efficiently run athletic department. And I would also note that the old way of, I guess, working through the boosters, let's put it that way, that system for a lot of people grew tired, grew old. It's where the money came from. The yeses and nos really primarily lied at the feet of the boosters and not of an athletic director. Post Dave Hart, I've said it many times, the athletic directors here were in name only. They weren't really directing much of anything, not of any major significance anyhow. So when you had that situation where basically Andy Miller controlled the purse strings, a lot of people thought that was bass-ackwards. A lot of people thought that was a antiquated way of doing things. I think in the latter years, that is an accurate descriptor. In the latter years, I think that was true. But it would be foolish and foolhardy to deny the successes that system produced for an awful long time, 40 plus years. So, there was some good that came with that. It's just that when it was time to change and catch up with the way and the operations that big-time college football, big-time college athletics work these days, Florida State was behind. And so I preface these comments with all of that, that bit of a history lesson for those that don't know it. Maybe you're younger. Maybe you're a younger part of my demo. That's how Florida State was viewed. That's how Florida State operated. Certainly that's my opinion, but it's also, I think, largely the consensus of others from afar that cover the ACC, that cover Florida State in that regard. And so what I'll say here is that this is exciting. And I said it when they hired Mike Alford, that the president is not like our previous presidents. This is not a president that has a long history in which he's steeped in athletics. He is academia through and through. And so it is going to be very important when they make the decision to hire an athletic director that they get somebody that they believe in and knows how to run an athletic department, has done it before. And by the way, Michael Alford has, and has access to the money people and knows how to marry coaches, players, university, boosters, all of it, right? All of us, fans, alumni, all of it. And I also wanted to see if it played out the way that it's played out, which is to say that he now has big decisions to make, very high-profile decisions to make, and his assessment from us as fans, boosters, supporters of Florida State of any kind, it's an ongoing process. But as we begin, I have to tell you, I think it's a great day, because if in fact the rumors about a soon-to-be hired baseball coach come to fruition, then, as you said, my man has acted decisively. He has acted with what appears to be, for the most part, total autonomy, and he has acted in a way that I think exudes confidence. Now, he could be wrong. He could be wrong. He could fail across the board. At least we know who to blame. He could also be successful, and we can celebrate his actions. We can do all of those things. We're free to do so now in a way that we never were under the previous setup. So Welcome to modern athletics at Florida State, everybody. Hey, that's not to say there haven't been great people that came through here in the past. It's not to say there haven't been wonderful moments. I think we could all point to them. We all are aware of the successes and failures and everything in between of almost all the programs at Florida State if you're a passionate supporter. But I do think that you now have a chance to feel like everybody else does in that we're operating in a very modern manner. Now, we may have some deficiencies still, and we do. Many schools do. Most schools don't have, for example, Texas A&M money or Southern Cal money or even Texas money, let's say. But we're working to that end, and obviously we're now free to make decisions in a timely fashion. You don't feel like you are operating with an albatross around your neck. You feel like now you have a willing athletic director that can make observations in which he sees something going awry, something's not adding up, then decide to get to the bottom of this and make a decision moving forward. And he can do so decisively, directly, quickly. And that has happened three times already. I mean, I guess you could say four, because you could look at women's basketball. You could look at Lonnie Alameda with softball and the Rays and the extension that she got. You can look at soccer, as you just alluded to. That situation was less than ideal, but he was decisive once it went the wrong way and went out and got a guy that is extremely well thought of, that has been successful at a place that had very little previous success. So that seemed like an aggressive and good hire. And now if they are able to put their stamp on this one and Link signs on the line, which is dotted, well then, if that happens, I think we're all going to be very excited. I think, too, it puts added pressure to some extent, maybe even just on the assistants on the football side of things. I don't know that Norvell is any trouble right now, but I think there's a lot of 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you for many of the assistants. I think Adam is under an awful lot of pressure. We know Ron Dugans is under a ton of pressure. They tried to replace Ron Dugans. They went after Penn State's receiver coach. They couldn't get him. He elected to stay there. I can tell you that it makes the most sense that he would stay there. I mean, the head coach he works for, Franklin, just got a huge raise and extension. There's security there. He's not going anywhere. I think people look at Florida State's situation and think, I don't know. But that's 2 assistants that I can think of. I could probably rattle off 3 or 4 and say, those guys are under a lot of pressure to succeed, because even if you don't fire the head coach after this season, if for some reason he fails, I think you will make a move and force his hand with some of the assistants if things aren't up to snuff, if they're not where they should be. I believe that to be true.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I'll just go back in time for a moment, though, because the first semester that I covered Florida State sports on the beat was the spring of 2010. And that was a transitional semester for the football program. But then I got to see the innards of the athletic department at the time. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, because, you'd grown up, and even when I was an undergrad here in Tallahassee, I'd go take classes in University Center D, which is, that is the football area. And, they have since moved the Heisman trophies and the national championship trophies, but those were right there next to the lecture hall that I would go in. And it just, from a facade standpoint, we were the pinnacle. And then, 4 years after my first class in that building, I work on the beat, and I could not believe the inefficiencies and, for lack of a better term, the rust that was inside the building in that facade. And I can't believe that it took this long to smooth all of that out. But I mean, think about it. That was already happening for several years. You had been, ringing the bell to make a change,
sounding the alarm.
And it wasn't just, that you're probably louder than a bell, unless it's the Liberty Bell or some such thing. But you had been making that call for some time for the football program. But I just, as a Nole for life, I could not believe that they were winning in spite of themselves. Yeah. And even that extended into the Jimbo era as well. There's drama in every workplace, but that was an unhealthy level of drama. They were still winning 29 straight through. And a lot of, you had, the chain of command looked like, a zigzag more than a straight line, a vertical line from top to bottom. But now it does feel like we can be in a position for the first time since I started covering this team for this athletic department to be greater than the sum of its parts, which is exactly what you need to be when you are operating at a financial deficit. They've got more money than I thought, but they still don't have as much money as these power programs. Look, Texas today gets a commitment from Arch Manning. You know what that's about. That's about those boosters throwing down and saying enough is enough with A&M. We've got to make a statement for ourselves, and that Arch Manning commitment is a huge one for Texas. I don't know that we're in that position, But in order to get close to that position, you've got to operate greater than the sum of your parts. And we've been operating less than the sum of our parts as an athletic department for the 12 years that I've been around. So that's just, for me, that's the big deal for today. And for these storylines as they play out early in Alford's tenure. We'll just see who the next baseball coach is. I also want to see that big salary. That means that we could be a meritocracy as we talk about these things. And so can other coaches in that department. If they're doing well, they should ask for a raise, because now we're proving that we've got money for them.
Yeah, that's true, and I get why you would want to see that. I frankly just would like them to get Link Jarrett, and if they get him for $5 an hour, that's fine with me too. That's more money for football. I don't really care what he makes. I just care that we get him, because I think it's a good look to go get him, and I think he'll do a good job. I hear you. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, if you could get him with a hometown discount, well, that wouldn't suck. That'd be all right. I'll tell you what else it does, and I'll do that in a second, because there's a bigger picture thing here to talk about, and I've been thinking a lot about it the last really 72 hours. I was listening to an interview with an NBA coach who got his first job this past year in the league, and he said something that struck a chord with me that I think kind of relates to the situation that we as fans feel about Florida State football and in general about Florida State athletics. I'll tell you what it is in a second. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV.
For strength, commitment, teamwork, and heart. We don't ever quit until we've got nothing left to give. Our team is unstoppable. Want a guaranteed win? Call T-Spark Enterprises for your next roofing or construction project. We conquer all peaks. TSparkConstruction.com. License number CCC 1331204.
Matt, when you think of a successful Southern cookout, what do you think of first?
The food, of course.
The food, but you got to think about the food prep. And Hearth and Patio has thought about that with their awesome grills.
What kind of grills?
Fire Magic, Broil Master, Blaze Grills, Kamado Joe. Matt, they got it all.
Wow.
Custom outdoor kitchens. Create an outdoor cooking space.
You'll be the envy of your neighborhood.
You will be the envy of your neighborhood, and you'll make a lot of people jealous. That's because you called Hearth and Patio at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit Hearth and Patio online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
It's a backyard barbecue party. Leslie Holcomb's number one more time.
850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Go Hearth and Patio. They not only keep the home fires burning, Hearth and Patio will elevate your grilling game.
Nice.
Nice indeed.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're speaking another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
We all want more energy
energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.
Welcome back. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Great to be with you. Hope you are well. And I was talking a moment ago about kind of watching this play out from afar and watching the assertiveness with which Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State, has acted since taking that job. Every situation is different, obviously. Every situation, meaning each coach for each program, you inherit a different set of circumstances by which to operate. That's true of the monies involved, all of that stuff. It's interesting. But I do think that at the very least, I think you take a cursory glance at this, you are seeing a much more active and, again, powerful athletic director. And that it's hopeful. And that's what I want to get to is this word hope. And I think when you are bereft of hope, as I used to say all the time, verbal crutch, I haven't said it as much because I'm well aware of that verbal crutch, but it is just such a wonderful phrase. But when you are bereft of hope, as we were for a very long time, apathy sets in. It begins to set in, and it's where programs go to die. It's kind of what you've seen from otherwise programs with cachet, real legendary status in the game. Texas, aforementioned Texas, Tom, you just got done talking about them. You went to a game there a couple years back and talked to a Texas alumni, and you shared my sentiments about Texas forever being on the wrong end of the game against Oklahoma and on the wrong end in the Big 12, despite having huge coffers, despite having access to some of the best players in the country, despite having a rich tradition. And those fans agreed. They agreed that it's humiliating, it's frustrating, it's aggravating. Well, they had begun for a very long time, and I don't know what it's like today, but they had begun to lose hope that it was ever going to turn around. With each succession, with each passing coach, with each guy they brought in, they swore it was going to be the one. And quickly they found out he was not the one. And quickly that guy was under fire by year 3, and they were looking to move along. It's happened quite a bit. Today, perhaps they were fed some hope, because we all know from having seen Jameis Winston, and really, if you think back on our 3 national championships, all 3 quarterbacks won the Heisman Trophy. So we've seen elite quarterback play. We know what that looks like, how big a game changer that can be. How when all else is going wrong, that guy making that pass or that decision in that moment changes the complexion of a game. And I think to some extent, what we're seeing with Mike Alford is just a kernel of hope, right? Just a little bit of hope that we're now in a position to act accordingly, to do things the way that big boy athletic programs do things. And yeah, they don't have the same amount of money just yet, but I think we're working to that end, and I think we're trying to act accordingly. And I also think that it's obvious we're coming out the other side of all of the money that we had to pay Willie. And so they have freed up millions, frankly, of dollars. They have freed up millions of dollars. And that's another reason that I think you saw him be so aggressive with the baseball situation. Had they not had the money to perhaps double the baseball coach's salary, maybe triple. We don't know. We'll see what the details are when the announcement is made of the hiring. But we know they were on the cheap with Mike Martin Jr., paying him in the neighborhood of $450,000, $400,000. Relative to other big-time programs, that's not a lot of money. It's not a ton of money. So when they made the decision that this wasn't salvageable, when Mike Alford made the decision with the exit interviews and the analyzing of a situation that certainly he saw with his own 2 eyes at Auburn, same way you were, where he was watching this team at times humiliate themselves, he decided to obviously be very aggressive and go in and get to the bottom of it. And somewhere along the way, he realized, well, this isn't going to end well. We need to act. He could have waited 1 more year easily. And if we didn't have the money, he would have had to wait 1 more year. He could have fallen back and said, well, listen, at the end of the day, we wanted to give him a fair amount of time. I'm sure it doesn't look good right now, but the Martin name holds a lot of value here, and we wanted to give him no, he didn't do that. He said, okay, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you players. I hear you parents. I hear you coaches. I hear you fans, and I'm making a move. And he acted very quickly. Well, the second he did it, he knew that he was going to have to aggressively pursue the next coach. And you don't want to swing and miss. Now, you can. There are other good baseball coaches out there, and the change needed to be made. I'm in agreement with that. But I do think the second you made that decision to fire, you are signifying to everybody, you have the money. You're not worried about money. You wouldn't have fired him if you were worried about money.
Yeah, I think the other part is, too, that now you can openly speculate of if it's 50-50, will he search for his own guy or his own candidate for the job, or will he stick with the people that are on campus if they're not doing well? Like Lonnie, of course, you're going to give an extension to, you're going to give a raise to, because the accolades are there. Coach Krikorian, despite, infighting between those two, I think that's open. That's a common knowledge at this point that those two had a problem, and that's where Coach Krikorian couldn't coexist. He said, the hell with this, I'm gone. He still offered Coach Krikorian the most money of any college soccer coach in the land. So if you're successful, he's going to reward you. But the question is, if you're not successful, am I going to go down as an athletic director with somebody I didn't bring in, or am I going to go down with somebody that I did bring in? And that's where the conversation gets really interesting about 8 to 10 games into this football season. Because if you win enough of those games, we're talking extension. If you don't win enough of those games, we're using this moment in Florida State athletics history to say, well, he was quick to fire a guy with the baseball program. Will he do it with the football program?
Well, I think the debate continues to be, when you say the extension, what's that record have to look like? Is it a real extension? Are you just adding years to the deal, but no money, no raises?
Right.
How is it you're operating? What kind of message are you sending? Because to be sure, Mike Norvell will ask for that. All coaches do, because they'll argue, their agent will argue that without the 4 years, they can't say to a recruit, I'm here for you. They have to stutter F their way through that question when the parents say, are you going to be here 3 years from now? Well, probably. They don't want to have to do that. They argue about that. I think agents have definitely used that as a negotiation tactic over the years. I would love for universities to at some point go, no, we don't think the kids care that much. In fact, we don't really think it comes up all that often if you've got more than 2 years on your deal. You don't need to have 5. You don't need to have 6. We think that you haven't shown us enough at this point to get an extension with a raise. So we're going to hold off on that. Good luck, buddy. If you want to quit, you can quit.
Yeah, that's the thing that gives me hope here is that for the first time, I think you have an athletic director that's capable of saying something like that. I don't know that that's always been, well, I know that has not been the case since I've been covering this team, this program. It's just, you feel like you have a competent voice and a strong voice in that chair. And that gives me comfort. I didn't know how much it would. I really didn't, because I hadn't seen anything like it before. But again, somebody who's empowered can make hard decisions, and they'll do so with more confidence. If you're not empowered to make a tough decision when you have to, you do so and you're timid, and I think you're prone to make more mistakes. It's just, again, perhaps broken record time, but to see the healthy nature of how the operation is run from the president's office on down gives me hope that when the time comes to make a difficult decision, and make no mistake, 8-4 or 7-5 could be a difficult decision in terms of how much you give a raise or a rollover. I feel like we're in a position where we're run more smartly. And if you combine that with a collective that continues to raise money, that's the bridge, I think, between where we are now and where the sport of college football is going in the near future.
You're trying to survive till you get there.
Get me there. That's the whole thing, is like, can you just get me there? And I feel a lot better about getting there now than I did 6 months ago. That's for sure.
I think that's true. The people want, and this is the hope of which I speak. And again, you want some hope that you can invest in a program that you love, that they're going to make good decisions, that they're going to build back. I think a lot of people can accept over time that things can go south because they've witnessed it. If you're a longtime fan of sport, of college football, let's just keep it at college football. You've watched all the best schools, the schools with the most national titles and Heisman trophies and the biggest stadiums. You've watched them all suffer at some point. You've watched them all go through what Florida State is currently going through. You've seen many times in which a program that was once powerful fell off a cliff, and you were left several years removed from that downfall, asking other college football fans when their score popped up on the screen and they're down 21 in a game they're favored by 3 at home. You've said, what the hell ever happened to them? How is it that Texas or Southern Cal or Notre Dame, name your school, name them. We've seen it. They've all done it. How is it those guys have fallen on these kinds of hard times? Usually that cachet, usually that previous success is something that they then use when the right guy comes in, pushes the right buttons to get back quickly because people are aware that you can win there. It's harder for a program that's never been to the mountaintop. It's harder for a program that doesn't have then built-in advantages, recruiting advantages, the way that Florida State does. So we know that there are some things here that allow you, when operating at peak efficiency, as I like to say, to get back. There are plenty of things in place that allow for that to happen. Now, you just can't continue to stumble over your own feet. You got to make good decisions. You got to move forward. You got to progress enough that you interest a better caliber of player. And then those kids begin to say yes, not all at once, but it's a guy here or there. It's a guy here or there. It's a LaMarcus Joyner. It's a guy here or there. And all of a sudden things change. And now you're moving. I want to get to the things are changing. We're moving. Yeah, we can't beat Georgia right now. No, we can't beat Alabama right now. No, there are several teams in our own conference that we struggle to beat. Yes, that's true. Can we take that baby step this year? This year, is that the hope that we're clinging to right now? Is that things can get better and they can get better right now. And there's a chance that this guy, because nobody wants to start over. I mean, listen, you can talk about, hey, I don't think Mike Norvell's the guy. That's fine. You can say that. I mean, I think I could argue it both ways. If you told me we were going to have a debate tomorrow, like they do on ESPN every day, and you have to manufacture the argument, and somebody says, well, what side are you on? And you say, I really don't have an opinion on this one. They go, well, you can't do that. You got to have an opinion on it. Well, I don't really feel one way or the other right now. I think we need more evidence. Well, you can't do that. You're going to have to say something. We need you to say something. You got to have an opinion here, a passionate opinion, Jeff. Well, which side do you want to be on? Don't really care. I want to see how he plays this year. Okay, so you're going to be the anti-Norvell guy. Got it? Okay, I'll be anti-Norvell. Then I would start to put together the argument. I know where I'd start, and I know how easily I could do it, just as I know how I would rebuff my own argument, right? Tom would come back with, you got to be pro-Norvell. Well, I know what he's going to say, because right now we don't know. But even if you're the guy that doesn't think he's the guy, you would admit it's not ideal to have to keep starting over, man. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, I think just looking on the ground at each position group, and obviously we're going through that exercise with our top 40, but we do this all the time. I mean, it's almost like list season or uniform talk. You go look at a roster and you're like, okay, so there are your pieces.
We just did it. Yeah.
Right. And we just did it for a proper exercise, not just our own fandom. But you go to each position group, every single one, and you've got at least an answer or two, at least. And yeah, there are some where there's only one answer that you feel. Yeah, but you know what? How many had zero? Like, how many had zero answers 2 years ago? Hell, last year, receiver. Who do you feel good about? Crickets. Nothing. The hope of a true freshman like a Malik McClain is the best answer you could come up with.
I think he had 12 receptions.
Right. So
12.
And then this year, Micah Pittman's where you start. A healthy Winston Wright is where you go. Hey, if Johnny Wilson could be a situational player for us, and obviously that slots Pokey Wilson down to third or fourth, you start to build these things. And I don't think that's fanish to do. I think you've got a better quality of player at each position, leading the way in each position group than you had 2 years ago. I know depth is a concern, and injury luck has to be had in order to get where you want to go. But you didn't even have an argument in the first place at several position groups for the last couple of years. Now you finally do across the board. So I think that's where the hope begins, and it's empirically true that you should have hope rather than you're just being a sycophant and somebody who, thinks we're going to go 12-0 every year.
Well, yeah, and you're inclined to want to find the places where hope resides because you're a fan. And you have to be honest with yourself about that process. But then, as you just correctly noted, there are real, tangible steps forward, players that have helped illuminate that hope. You see it. So now you really just have to hope like hell. And this is something you can never account for. You have to stay healthy. You got to stay healthy. If they stay healthy and they hit on those transfer portal guys on the offensive line, they do have a legitimate chance. I think they're a 7-5 team. I think the schedule screams 7-5. I think they have way too many 50-50 games to really tell you that I think they're going to do much better than that. I think we counted at one point in time, the last time we did W's and L's, like 8 or 9 games that are going to be 1-score spreads. That's very rare that you're that kind of a team that week to week the spread is 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that's a bounce of a football. That's a penalty. That's an injury. That's a guy making a tremendous play. That's a whatever, dumb luck, injury luck, turnover luck. It's a lot of things that decide a 3-point game, a 4-point game. It's not. It can be a singular play, a missed tackle. So when the margin for error is that small, it's just hard to say with any degree of robust certainty that they're going to win 9, 10 games, right? You can't do that. But I think I can say that they look like a 7-5 team to me. And you better beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You can't stumble. For example, you can't lose to Boston College. We all admit you could lose to Boston College, but you can't lose to Boston College if you're going to have the kind of season we are hoping they have. But if they stay healthy, I think 8 wins comes into play. And I think if you get extremely lucky, 9 wins comes into play. And if that happens, now you're cooking with gas, my friends. Now you have an opportunity. Now recruiting begins to take shape in a way you really didn't think possible or project. And, obviously that may be hoping against hope, but it's a logical way to get there. I can also, and I'm not going to do it today, I can also go through each of these steps and tell you how quickly we get to 4-8. I can do that too. I don't want to go there.
Screw you, man. No,
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm saying I could logically take us there down the path to a 4-8 to begrudgingly, you on my screen would be going, you'd be nodding your head like, well, that's a reasonable point that he's making. It could happen.
Jordan Travis is hurt. There you go.
Well, we're done talking then. Yeah. That's where I'd begin. That's my ace in the hole, Tom. I'd start with that one. I'd throw that one on you, buddy. You'd be like, well, there's no coming back from that one. But yes, even if I saved it to the very end, that's my draw 4, where I throw down the draw 4 and say, Uno, red. Yeah, that's good times. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
After business, in some cases, hundreds of dollars have been stolen. The latest burglary occurred last Thursday at Serenity Culture Company. A man took a cinder block and smashed his side window, taking hundreds of dollars from the register before leaving. At least 11 break-ins have happened in the area. Growwood Square Craft House fell victim earlier in June. The business has surveillance video that appears to show a man rummaging around behind the bar. No arrests have been made yet, but investigators continue to pore over evidence. Tallahassee's new skatable art park is now open. The city held a grand opening celebration earlier yesterday. The park, located at 810 FAMU Way, features a sculpture that pays homage to FAMU Rattlers. At 220 feet long, the park has Florida's longest snake run. Construction on the $2.8 million park began in November. The Coal Chute Pond Trail, located adjacent to the skatable art park, was also unveiled. This is Rachel Lene with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Daytime highs approaching 104 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight. Lows around 78. Chance for scattered storms tomorrow. Highs around 102. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 98.
Hey, no fans.
friends, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
There's a TikTok that's going viral because of a butter softening method. They are putting the Vermont Creamery butter in the waistband of her pants. Give it 5 minutes. You can go and measure out your ingredients, and then your butter is ready to go. You cannot do this in Florida.
No.
Because your pants will be full of butter in 2 minutes. Somebody try it. Post on TikTok.
Unless it says juicy across the back.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness, 2 Tallahassee locations.
Jeff Cameron Show. And, I see a lot of people will point out when we talk about projected records and we talk about what's possible, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And we're mentally preparing ourselves all summer long, over and over and over again, because we all know just how big a season it's going to be for these coaches, these players, this program. A lot of that talk, of course, as it does with any college football team, with any reasonable expectations, centers around the play of Jordan Travis and how much better he has to play for us to consistently move the football and put ourselves in a position to win games. And while I think that's true to some extent, I'd love to see us develop some semblance of a drop back passing game, especially in obvious passing downs when you have to have it, to be able to stand in there and know that you've got time to deliver in rhythm, back foot hits the ground, throws accurate, receiver makes a catch, makes a play after the catch, God forbid. Yeah, all of that would be great, right? But I think I can caution people who think that he's going to take a massive leap forward. I don't think he will, and I don't think he has to. I think he just has to be a little bit better in those situations, and he may be equipped to do so because of Micah Pittman. He may be equipped to do so because year 2, for one of those receivers that we're holding out hope for, McClain comes to mind, obviously. You learn a lot as a freshman receiver. You learn an awful lot. A lot of times those guys that do develop into real good players, they really don't do so until, we have exceptions. Outliers do exist, I understand. But a lot of those guys, it's year 3. It's year 3. They have a redshirt year and then a full season, and then maybe their redshirt sophomore year, they're really good, or their outright junior year. So I know that the numbers aren't great on him. Malik McClain, I just referenced how few catches he actually had last year. I think we misremember, as Roger Clemens likes to say, how good or bad he was, because we saw him make a couple of really big catches late in the year, and we kind of apply those catches to the season as a whole. But for much of last year, he was anonymous. There wasn't much that we could glean from his play. But because those catches happened at the end of the year, and his body type suggests that he'll make a lot of contested catches as he gains confidence and a better understanding of what they're asking him to do, I do think you could see him take a huge leap forward. And by huge leap forward, meaning Malik McClain, 25 catches, Tom? 30 receptions? That'd be a big year.
It would be, and that would be a higher catch percentage on targets as well. It's hard to shake out how you spread the wide receivers across the field, and that's a good problem to have. Let's just say that Winston Wright is not available for the LSU game. I'm just thinking about the LSU game only.
Mm-hmm.
Micah Pittman could conceivably be lined up anywhere. You could line them up outside the numbers. You could put them in the slot hunting for a matchup, and I'm sure they'll move them around. They probably will. That's ideal because they like to generate one-on-ones anyway. It's the nature of the offense to not just be stagnant and have somebody line up the same place 10 plays in a row. But I would think he'd probably line up outside the numbers more than not. So what does that do for the other receivers? Does that mean Pokey Wilson plays in the slot? Does that mean that Johnny Wilson gets a lot of reps on the other side outside the numbers to see if you can generate a 2-on-1 look for him? And where does that put McClain? So that's where I'm getting to, Malik, is if Johnny's the guy that's lined up outside and Pittman might be, I'm having a hard time finding a natural position for McClain to line up unless you're in a 4-wide spread set.
Right.
So that's where going to camp actually is going to be pretty fun to see how they shuffle these things around, because there's no more experimentation time. Maybe for a week when you're in shorts, you can line up and see how things go. But beyond that, we've been talking about it for weeks on end about the offensive line. You got to find 5 that you like and let them start to work together and build that chemistry. Well, I think the same is true for the receiving core, because potentially speaking, there are a lot of options where you can line up a lot of these players, but they've got to carve out a role so they know where they are on a 3rd and 7 in a do or die situation. They know this is where they're lining up. This is the depth of their route, and Jordan understands and builds the chemistry from there. So, yeah, Malik McClain, a big step for him would be to catch 20 or 30 passes this year. And I think also that would be a big step for 2 reasons. It also means that he's climbed up the depth chart. Just because he's a holdover doesn't mean he starts at the top. That means he would climb over a couple of guys for a lot of snaps on the field.
Yeah, I'm rooting for it. I just think it's logical to expect a leap forward in his overall understanding, acumen of the game, and how physical he is at the moment of contention, right? Like, I think that's a guy that can take that next step because he showed some signs. I don't think he's going to be an elite receiver. I just think he can be a productive receiver, and that's what we're looking for. Far more production from role players, from guys that don't have to be stars. I don't know that they have a game-changing wide receiver on this roster. The closest is probably Micah Pittman, but they don't have a game-changing player that you look out there and you go, oh, well, in a pinch, Peter Warwick is going to make a play. There's nobody that resembles that. We don't have those Alabama receivers that you watch every time you watch the national championship game and you go, well, Jesus, their 4th receiver is infinitely superior to our best player. It's like we're not there. You just need your role players to be productive, to know their roles, like you're talking about, Tom, and to play with some confidence.
Well, and here's a place where my eyes already roll internally, but I'll speak it aloud because I think it's true. The bubble game should be stronger on the perimeter this year.
Oh, yeah.
Pittman runs tougher, but you've got Johnny Wilson who gives a damn about blocking. So does McClain. I think you're building a culture to where those little BS passes out to the flat might actually get you 5 or 6 yards and put you in a 2nd and 4 and allow for you to go tempo in a drive. I feel like that part of the offense has been a laughing stock, even going back to the end of Jimbo's time. It was Ole Central. I mean, think about it. Nooney Murray back in the Orange Bowl before he made the catch against Michigan, the deciding touchdown. He turned a guy loose for a hit. I forget who the receiver was, but he turned a guy loose. Ole.
Let him blow him up, yeah.
And it's been that way for years. We've seen a couple of examples of a receiver making a good block downfield and staying engaged, but sometimes they're just not good at it either. I think that is part of the offense now that I'm not saying you could count on, but it's not going to look hapless anymore. And that spreads the field wide. Now you've got slot defenders creeping out towards the perimeter, creates rushing lanes. I feel like there's a lot of momentum here for this offense to have more balance this year, and that's what you need. If you have balance with Jordan Travis at the helm, that means he's going to have running lanes for himself as well and be more explosive.
Well, and a couple of things just to expound on that as we wrap up the hour. I'll say this. I think that game against LSU, I saw Ryan mentioned it on the post. I don't see 13 having a lot of clean pockets against LSU. No, there are a couple of games this year we can't block it up. I think we're going to have a hard time blocking it up against Clemson. I think we'll have a hard time blocking it up against LSU. They do have 3 guys projected to the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, and that defense up front, that's a problem. So I wouldn't go into that game with the mindset that this is going to be a time for our new look, more balanced offense. I'd roll his ass out. He wouldn't be sitting in that pocket for very long. I would tell him this is going to be a basic game plan. You are going to make a decision. It is there. It is not there. If it's not, you're going to run or throw it away. That's what you're going to do. We're not sitting back here going to our third and fourth progression against this defensive line. And I think they'll understand that. If they don't, they will probably pretty early in the game. But against a lot of the other teams, you do have a chance to better block it up and create the balance you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, just if you can win a one-on-one matchup on the outside, that by itself creates more balance. And I think that's what he's going to be in position to throw towards this year. Now it's just you got to finish those plays. But I would even think that going through the progression in this offense, to get past progression 2, it's like if you look at a pitcher's pitch usage, and he's got that circle change. He breaks it out once or twice a game.
Every now and again to let you know it's there.
That would be the drop back passing game on a neutral down and distance for Florida State this year. I would never see it as a primary part of the offense. It's just you do want to be more multiple. So it's amazing what they can do without receivers that can catch and blockers that can block in the running game. Imagine what they can do with that running game if you have a receiver that can catch and an offensive line that can every once in a while block instead of never block against a good D-line.
Yeah, I said that oddly, in the midst of a 5-7 campaign that featured some embarrassing moments, that there were enough moments that I actually, even in losses, at times came away very impressed with how many times he created one-on-ones. You can't create one-on-nones. Those don't typically exist. If you create one-on-ones, that's about the best you can hope for. And those running lanes of which you speak, they'll be there this year. And Trey Benson, I agree, Garrett could be a home run hitter in the backfield. I don't know that we have it at wide receiver. I do think we have it in the form of Benson in the backfield. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with us. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Seminole glass. Now get on the road and get it done fast.
Your local family-owned glass company, serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. At Seminole Auto Glass, we care about your safety. Insurance will send you wherever it benefits them, not the quality of service. There's a difference in auto glass companies. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass.
They handle any kind of broken glass, and you know who they are.
Better call Seminole.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The Select Committee investigating the Capitol riot will hear from former Justice Department officials about a contentious Oval Office meeting just days before the breach of the Capitol.
The fifth committee hearing will shine a light on a turbulent stretch during President Trump's last days in office. Lawmakers will hear from Jeffrey Rosen, who was acting attorney general on the day the Capitol was breached, as well as top deputy Richard Donahue and Stephen Engel, who was the assistant attorney general who ran the Justice Department office that provided legal advice to the executive branch. During a tense meeting on January 3rd, the officials threatened to resign en masse when Trump proposed replacing Rosen with loyalist Jeffrey Clark. The acting head of the Civil Division, Jennifer King, Washington.
Also at townhall.com, the Supreme Court says that Americans do have a right to carry guns in public. It's a major expansion of gun rights. In a 6-3 decision earlier today, the court struck down a New York law in a ruling expected to directly impact half a dozen other populous states.
I'm Greg Clugston at the White House, where President Biden says he's deeply disappointed by the Supreme Court's ruling that likely will allow more people to legally carry guns. The president argues that it contradicts both common sense and the Constitution. In light of the recent deadly mass shootings, Mr. Biden says we must do more as a society, not less, to protect our fellow Americans.
Justice Clarence Thomas wrote from the majority that the Constitution protects an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home. Stocks giving up an early lead, they turn mixed and are now mixed in afternoon trading on Wall Street. The Dow is down 83 points, but the NASDAQ ahead 57. More at townhall.com.
I've always been kind of cynical towards advertising, which I know doesn't make much sense considering I'm currently recording a commercial. It's all the fluffy words that make us cynical, right? A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a blue light special, but only, of course, if you call right now. It all kind of makes me nauseous, and yet here I am about to say that right now actually might be a once-in-a-lifetime moment for some of us, and that is the opportunity of a cash-out refinance. Arguably never has there been a moment in time like the last few years where home values have jumped at crazy historical levels, leaving all this extra money sitting inside our homes. A cash-out refinance lets you put that extra money in your pocket to use for life. If you'd like to see your options, we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. It is great to be with you as always. Hope this finds you doing well. I'm Jeff. There's Tom, Director Matthew in the studio. Tom and myself are at our respective homes. The reason for that is, unfortunately, I have COVID. So I will be doing shows for the foreseeable future today, tomorrow, possibly Monday, from home. But wanted to reveal that so you didn't think that I was pulling the wool over your eyes. Nope, we're at the house, got COVID. Finally got me. First time I've had it. I am boosted. I am all that stuff. So I should be all right. I'll knock on wood that that's the case. Unfortunately, it's running through the Cameron household. So I blame my youngest child. I berated him this morning despite his illness. I went into his room and told him that he has let the family down.
Well, how do you feel after an hour of hard-hitting broadcasting? It takes an extra little bit of energy. So are you still good? You run down? What are we doing?
I'm run down. I feel like ass. I am. I'm run down. Feel like ass. Not looking forward to this hour, but I'm a winner and always have been. And that's what winners do, Tom. That's what winners do. They show up for work and they provide the kind of entertainment that the people are grown accustomed to for over 20 years. You know that. I remember when you came on board as an intern, we had the conversation about what it means to be a winner. And I could see the light in your eyes. And it's never left. It's never left. And that's how I knew I had my man.
That was my eyes darting towards the door. That was I was like, oh, can I leave?
Yeah.
Can I leave now?
Well, yeah. Daniel was an intern for us and did great work for us. And if you look at how well he's done post radio, I think I'm a direct influence and the reason for his many successes. When I see him from afar, I smile. I get a little choked up, occasionally a little bit choked up, and I got a daily reminder of what it means to win when I look at Director Matthew and how far he's come. If you think about Matthew, he wasn't long for this world. We were on the cusp. Tom wanted him fired within 3 days of him on board. And I said, I can see it. It's down in there, Tom. You just got to talk to him.
Wow.
You got to talk to him the way that I talk to you and make it happen. It's in there. And now we both see it all the time. We have to calm him down. We have to tell him to slow his roll. It's okay. It just does great work.
This is a deep cut. Look at this. All right. Fantastic. Matthew, that's all true. I want you to know that everything he just said is 100% true.
I knew the key. Tom can be very emotional. Tom is very reactive. He can be a hothead. You guys wouldn't know that because he's good at hiding it. But in those moments where I can tell his emotions have gotten the better of him, I took him out for a beer. I said, hey, listen, let's why don't you sleep on it? Matthew's got good work in there. He can do some things. You just got to sit down and give him the expectations. And to your credit, you did. You slept on it and you really guided the kid well.
Yeah, I think Daniel's correct too. You just found a cure. You found a cure for whatever was ailing Matthew. That's it. And you've built a bunch of winners, and that's why there's no doubt that if COVID ravages you over the next day, you'll still be on the air tomorrow, no matter what.
That's true. That's the kind of strength that we bring to the table. Craig, no, my dog Carl died like 8 years ago. To answer your question, he died 8 years ago. I think it's 8 years now. No, it's 13 years ago. Good God, Carl's been dead a long time. But thanks for bringing it up. And by the way, Steve is still with us, although not for much longer. Steve is almost 14. I don't think he's going to make it. I think time is running short. Just so you know, if we're getting caught up on my dogs, Maggie is a picture of health. She's doing just fine. There you go. Now we got the dogs out there. Everybody knows.
Well, the boys are in the house. Do they know your thoughts on the matter? My goodness, I guess they do now.
Yeah, they know the thoughts on the matter. No, it's pretty funny that I am, as you know, fairly blunt, and so when things happen, I just say them, and we noticed a while back Steve was beginning to struggle, and I said, boys, I want you to start to wrap your mind around the idea of a life where Steve doesn't exist. You need to work through it. You need to work through it. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not racing out the door to make it happen. I'm just saying it's going to happen. So let's start thinking about it. That's the hard part. You've got pets. A lot of you out there have pets. You know the deal. You love them. They're part of your family. They're the best. You give them the best life that you possibly can. And then you know that at some point, if things play out the way they're supposed to, that's it. That's the end of it.
It's kind of like coaches, you know, when they're with you, you love them so much and you try to advance things, and it's a great time, especially when they beat Miami or they beat Florida, and you're like, my goodness, this life doesn't get better than this. And then they start to wheeze a little bit, and then, you know, the next thing you know, you're getting your head kicked in by those same teams. Well, it was a good run. I'll always cherish those moments. But let's go to the pet store. Let's go get a new one.
Let's get a new one and shower that one with love, just to be let down by their premature death 10 years from now. No, just kidding. Hey, so let me tell you something. It's funny that we bring this up and just having a little tongue-in-cheek moment here on the show to some degree. I will say I've never experienced a situation like the one we're in right now from a broadcasting standpoint or analysis standpoint with Mike Norvell. By the time Jimbo left, it was readily apparent that the two sides needed to go their separate ways. He wasn't happy here. We were about done with him. The plane was flown into the side of the mountain. He stopped recruiting. He wouldn't fire his assistant coaches, in particular, a certain offensive line coach that wasn't getting the job done at all. And he was challenging fans to a fight as he came off the field after yet another loss. So those things were happening, and we knew it was time for him to go. And it was cantankerous, to say the least, the kind of interactions that people were having with him. We had people at the coaches show walk in and talk about loyalty. And one of those shining moments where I predicted it was going to happen and said, Tom, watch this. This guy's going to ask the question. And he did famously. Why do I bring that up? Well, because when he left, we were like, oh, thank God. I mean, it had to be done. It's a shame it had to turn out this way. I really wished it hadn't, but man, we have to move on. And then when Willie got here, I had it wrong. I thought he would do a good job, and he didn't. And there were things I didn't realize off the field that began to become a problem. And so when he left, I wasn't emotionally invested. It was kind of just a sort of a terse, calculated, we need to get where the getting's good here. Guys, this ain't going to get better. It's going to look bad. We're going to take a PR hit, but we probably need to take it on down the road because I don't see this getting any better. And they did. But I wasn't, we were ready for that too, is my point. And you know that I thought Bowden needed to go at the end of his career. I know the legend that he is, the saint that people hold him to be, and I get all that. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead in any way, but obviously at the end of his career, the program had taken a huge step back and was no longer a consistent, successful program. So I was ready for him to go too, as controversial as that was. I say all of that to say this. People don't dislike Mike Norvell. The people who want him gone already don't dislike Mike Norvell. The people who like him and want him to stay are willing to entertain the idea that if he has another middling to poor season, we should fire him. But they're not emotional about it. We're all just kind of like, yeah, we're just watching, man. You seem like a good guy. You work really hard. Anytime I've talked to you, you have a great grasp of football. Your work ethic is unquestioned. But either you do the job or you don't. We're just totally uninvested in the way that we were about all of the other coaches emotionally. This is not that at all.
Because you don't have the final act or the extending part of the movie either. I think once you have the evidence presented in this 12-game season, then you'll be able to be a little bit more emotional one way or the other. But we realize, and we've had to become well adjusted to reasons for losses, not excuses, but reasons, because we've had a lot of those L's floating around here in these parts the last few years. But we all see that COVID derailed whatever progress he was trying to build from the get-go.
Oh, he got screwed right off the bat, yes.
By the time he's got a fair fighting chance in living rooms, the new car smell had wore off. So,
it's circumstance plus some failures from a personnel standpoint. I think he has aided his downfall in the recruiting world. He was also screwed from the jump. Yes.
Right. Yeah, both are true. I think what's more true, or what holds more weight, at least at this point, is that he was screwed from the get-go. Now, have another failure that's even close to a Jacksonville State failure again this season, and the emotion will be there, and people will call for his termination. But you go 8-4, or God forbid 9-3, and then you'll have people rallying into his corner in a way they have not before. I actually applaud the fan base for being more wait and see, and it'll bear out on the field about this particular hire because we had been so polarized. The Jimbo camp, I mean, it wasn't 100% get rid of Jimbo. There were a lot of people who backed him as he was out the door. Still some people do. And then Willie, that was very emotional because everybody got together and said, this is no mas, man. We can't do this.
Well, at least those that knew what was going on off the field.
In this particular, well, that's true. That's true. It wasn't 100%, but I mean, if you heard I mean, my God. Anyway, in this particular case, I think most everybody is saying, okay, here's a key season. What are you going to do with it? Because you're going to make the decision for me, Mike. I don't even have to make a decision here. You're going to make the decision for me. And maybe that's the simple way that Mike Alford is looking at this as well. We talked about him an awful lot in the first hour, but maybe that's how he's looking at this particular situation that, hey, you're going to do my job for me. That's not always the case as an athletic director. Sometimes you have to make a decision in the gray area, but it's more likely than not that I'll have the answer before me because of what you do or don't do this season.
I just like that for once. I mean, that's crazy. If you think back to what you just said and we repeat it out loud, that the fans have been reasonable. What? Florida State fans, and you're right, they have been. Florida State fans are not described by anybody outside of Florida State as reasonable. They're described as perhaps irrationally passionate, violent, over the top in a lot of ways. Oh man, the kind of sickening verbiage used to media members across the country via Twitter is a kind of verbal. I'm not talking about walking into a house and beating somebody, but yeah, they're hostile is the better way of saying it. Then, and so I've watched all that play out. It's been overstated at times. Sometimes it's understated. But this group over the last few years has been great. They've been kind of, well, the man inherited a tough situation. We have a fake athletic director who's a bean counter. He's now come in here and has to try to start anew, and he's going to be the third coach in 4 years. That's not good for recruiting. COVID hit. You had a year where you can't even bring people on campus. So how can you create relationships? How can you get to know these high school coaches whom you're going to ask, steer their players to you. So we acknowledge those things. And that's why people are upset at 5-7, but not outrageously so. That's what brings us to now. That's what brings us to okay, well, now we're done. Now we get it. All that happened, but man, at some point, now you got to produce. We're done with all the other stuff.
Yeah, the thing I'd say, and I was just reflecting on this regarding the transfer portal, and there's another offensive lineman, Jazz Turnitine from South Carolina, is now a part of the group this year. It's 10 different offensive linemen have been brought in. And if you look at that combined with some of the defensive interior players that have brought in as true freshmen this year, Daniel Lyons, Bishop Thomas, we like. They did get the kid Adebayo. If I got his name right, I'm sorry, his name escapes me. But they reclassified him from 23 to 22. You've got a couple players that you like now at defensive end, like Jared Verse. My point is, if they show enough success this year that, maybe it's a 7-5, but a couple of close burns that you could have easily been 9-3 with one kick that was made or something like that. I wonder if the work in the trenches is going to have any impact on how we view whether or not we should make a change, because they have done quietly and not quietly at the same time. There's been an overhaul in the trenches, both sides of the football. They saw the problem at wide receiver. They hit it with a nuclear bomb with 4 different transfers. I know, 2 or 3 are probably game ready and could be starters. 2 of the 4 for sure, maybe 3 out of the 4. But my point is, they see problems, this coaching staff, and they attack them with fury. And I wonder if that's going to score them any points if it doesn't end up like Alford thinks and maybe like we do, where it's going to be the decision's going to be made for me. If it's in the middle, they are approaching things with both a short-term vigor and a long-term vigor that puts them in a position to pay it off down the road. It's just that you won't see many contributions from the boosters or the NIL at that point. I wonder if that buys him any goodwill, I guess is my point, if it ends up somewhere in the middle.
I'm really hoping they get to see it paid off. They're operating, they're working, they're making decisions that speak to a head coach at the very least who doesn't believe he's in any danger. Like, you don't do some of the things that he's done if you think that this could be your last year. You don't do that, because he's setting up, like you say, for some successes 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And, when you're desperate and you think this might be the year in which your career at Florida State is called into question, you probably don't make some of those decisions. So I like that he operates under the banner of confidence. I like that he proceeds about his day the way that you would with a long-term vision. Even if other people are questioning that, he's not, right? He's following down that path. That's how you have to be, unwavering. I mean, how many times have we watched, whether it's basketball, could be football, could be baseball, you name it, where a coach is having a moment. He's having a successful moment. He's reaping the benefits of a plan, and they win and win big. This could be any program, anywhere, and all of a sudden you're learning a lot more about his journey to this moment. And you're watching the ESPN Tom Rinaldi special, whatever it might be. And we watch it, and invariably there's this moment where along the way, that guy was in real trouble. Like, his career was in question. They came this close to firing him, but they believed that he did a good job with this player, had this booster that was supporting him, so they gave him another year. And then that year he won 7 games. The next thing you know, they got a star quarterback to come, and the next year they won 10, and now here they are playing in the national championship. It took 7 years, the first 3 of which saw him on the hot seat. You hear that story. It's been done so many times. Hell, it was done by Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney, by all rights, was this close to being fired because he's a clown, and they knew he was a clown, and he needed better assistants around him. Now, the credit I give Dabo Swinney is that right there on the cusp, when he himself admits he thought he was about to be fired, he asked his wife to come with him. He thought this was going to be the end of the day. He was going to meet the athletic director because the athletic director had called him in, and he thought, I'm going to be fired because his record sucked. And then that athletic director did the opposite. He said, you know what? I believe in you. I'm going to give you another year. I think you can do this. What do you need? And he realized he needed really good football coaches because he isn't one. So what he did was go out and get really good football coaches as offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. And all of a sudden, not only did they have really good coordinators, they had elite coordinators. And then he could be free to do what he does very well, which is recruit, which is to sell some sort of folksy vision, some Southern Christian nonsense that he yucks it up with the families, and all the families eat it up, and they let their kids go there because they think that he governs the program along with Jesus. And it worked. And all of a sudden, Clemson had better players than everybody else, and they went on a run forever. And he gets nothing but respect and credit from me because, hey, I don't have to believe as he believes. I don't have to think any of that's real. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is he got those kids, those families, those administrators, those coaches to believe that, and they won really big. I'm hoping that we see this sort of storyline where Mike has been unwavering. He has seen the way he wants to play. He has seen the way he thinks they should play. He has talked about it time and again, even when they lose, even when they lost to Jacksonville State, a humiliating loss. By rights, could have seen him fired on the spot, but he wasn't. Of course, he wasn't. He ended up staying true to the vision, knowing that that was ugly, knowing that that can't happen, so much so that he apologized for it after the game. But he didn't change anything. It didn't make him reconsider the message. It didn't make him look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I've got this all wrong. Maybe I should take another path to try to win games sooner. Nope. He said, I believe there's a way we should play, the way we should act, the way we prepare. I'm going to stay the course because I believe in the end it's what's going to make us successful. I want that story 3 years from now, 4 years from now. I think we all do. I think there's a distinct possibility it could happen. That's, again, why we have this conversation incessantly, which is that, man, this year is really important because we can't get to that end. We can't see the resolving of this story if he can't make it through this year. If they go 5-7 or 4-8, he's probably going to get fired. And if that happens, then damn it, man, my Rinaldi piece is out the door.
Well, you can try and write that all you want. And to the family and to the player, Ayobami Tafasi, sorry about that. My immediate recall had failed me, but I'm sure you're going to be an excellent player for us.
It was eating at you.
It was. You know me. It eats at me when I don't nail things like that. Like when I got Christian Jones on the mind for so many years. I mean, with
you shouldn't have mentioned his name just now because now you're going to screw it up again.
I'll make sure I invoke his name at some point in the near future when talking about maybe a wide receiver this time. Who knows? But yeah, patience sometimes is the thing that is expected by nobody and then pays off big time. Coach K is a big, example of an athletic department being patient with a coach in a way that they probably cannot be anymore. We'll see if we need to exercise that virtue of patience. I hope not. I don't think so. But the thing that Mike would have to be open to if that becomes the case, and let's say that they said as an athletic department, well, we've got to upgrade coordinators or whatever it is. He has to be willing to allow his potential successor in the door. Because why would you take a job as a coordinator for a dead man walking?
Correct.
You wouldn't. So the only way that you could be
the receiver coach they just tried to hire.
Right. So the only way that you could do that if you're a coaching commodity and you're a brand that's on the rise as a coordinator would be, well, am I going to get an interview for the head man job if this doesn't go south? Am I going to be blamed? What kind of security can you grant me? And that's where it would be really, really interesting, because at that point, wouldn't you just make the big move? But hopefully none of these conversations come to light. I know that and we've talked about this a lot today, that we finally have an athletic director who I believe is buttoned up enough to be prepared for all of these scenarios, and preparation has been a problem for the athletic department for a long time. Let's just hope that we have to go with plan A, which is how much money do we have to pay him because he's gone from 3 wins to 5 wins to 8 or 9 wins.
Not a lot. I think we just keep the status quo here. He makes good money to be what he is right now, which is so far not successful. So you suddenly have one good year. I'm not breaking the bank for you. I'll extend you probably in name only. There's no more added money to that deal. But that's how I would do that.
I don't think that's reasonable at that point, because
if he goes 7-5, you want to give him a big raise?
I said 8 or 9 wins, and if you do, I think you have to. I think you have to at that point because of how things work in the coaching industry. I hate how it works, but you have to be prepared to cut a check for a raise. Plus, I do believe he took a pay cut during COVID. I don't know if it was restored. I know for a lot of employees at Florida State, those salaries were restored, but you'd have to get into the weeds to find out if he's back to 100% pay. But
I'm sure he is.
Either way, you would have to be prepared at 8 or 9 wins before we get to a bowl. That you got to cut him a check for a raise. That's just the way that this coaching game works. It's a shell game.
Well, let's hope we're having that conversation. I'd like to have that debate in the wake of a 9-win season. I think that'd be a fun-ass debate to have. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Struggling with online ordering and watched as all the major third parties took advantage of our local restaurants and thought there must be a better way, which is why I created foodiestakeout.com. The unique thing about Foodies Takeout is that restaurants keep 100% of their order revenue versus splitting upwards of 30% with the third parties like Uber Eats and Bite Squad. At Foodies Takeout, you can find some of your favorite restaurants, such as Jerry's Midtown Cafe, Misty's Kitchen in Frenchtown, Casa Grande, and even El Jalisco. Or if you're on the north side of town, check out Horizons Bar and Grill. Why not give us a try? Head to foodiestakeout.com or text foodies to 230-9456, and I'll even give you 10% off your first meal. Supporting local restaurants has never been easier. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For better style, quality, and design, go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Hi, my name is Shannon Pash, and I'm the principal at Red Hills Academy. We will provide a challenging, rigorous curriculum. We will also work with our students to teach them how to set goals and then how to work to reach those goals. Red Hills Academy will offer the Spanish language every day. Relationships are really important to us, not just with our students, but with our families and the community. This benefits parents and students alike because parents get that involvement within the school. Easily apply online today at redhillsacademy.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, batteries, tune-ups, oil changes, and all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is sponsored by the legendary team at Hamilton Home Loans.
Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Appreciate you joining us. Also, appreciate you watching on Warchant TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, I noticed that today the sex bots really took their time getting into the chat. We went a full hour and a half, I think, before the first sex bots that were like, "Hey, butts are over here." And usually you see that a lot sooner, Tom. Maybe they were being courteous, knowing that we're having to do the show at two separate places. I don't know. Matthew's very busy. They didn't want him to have constantly looking over his shoulder for the sex spots like he usually does when we're all together. So just an impressive observation to note that not as much butt talk as there typically is in the chat.
Yeah, there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit stuff that will happen. There was a couple other people that came in. There were a Rapture. There was a Rapture bot that came in today.
Good. I like a good Rapture discussion.
The second coming is here because of X, Y, and Z. Now, what gets fun is when the post-game show happens, people are firing in that chat at like warp speed. So we can't even block all the bots because the chat's moving so fast. It's like the Wheel of Fortune with every peg that's in the wheel. That you're just like, oh, there it goes. Goodbye. It's it's too late. I guess we can't block you. But every day that we're on here, it's somebody new that decides to drop in and try to sell something. So that's good.
I love the effort. Keep it up, everybody.
That means people are here.
Yeah, people are peppering, and we want Matthew to have to stay on his toes. We got to get that guy out there. Oh, man, Daniel has been blocked. Look at that. It's ugly out there, folks. Tread lightly. Director Matthew will block you, I promise you. Hey, so still no news on the hiring of a new baseball coach front. We are crossing our fingers. I want to circle back to what we talked about in the first hour. There's noise in the system, as they say. Seems like something is happening over there. What specifically, I don't know. But common sense seems to suggest that Florida State's going to have an announcement about their new baseball coach very soon. If I were a betting man, and I am, I would bet that it's Link Jarrett. I could lose that bet. I've lost bets before, but that's the way I'd bet it, Tom. I would say that probably 8-1 odds that it's going to be Link Jarrett.
Yeah, 8-1. So minus 800?
Yeah, minus 800.
Okay, well, that sounds good to me. I'll take that as a yes. It's just I find it interesting that no other names have really surfaced as potentials. We have obviously a history when Meat was naturalized from the hitting coach position to the head coach position. They had interviewed quite a few candidates, and some I'm sure they kept in the drawer, the proverbial drawer for in case of emergency. But you really haven't heard much about anybody else other than Link. It's been too quiet for him not to be the leading candidate. I would think the only way that he doesn't take the job at this point is if something falls apart at the 11th hour, which can happen in negotiations, but you're not hearing it getting to the 5th hour or the 6th hour with anybody else. So it's been too quiet for me to think it could be anybody else, because why would you announce somebody new as the head coach now? Why wouldn't you do that last week? So to me, it's Link is the primary and secondary option. We'll see if they have to get to the tertiary, but it doesn't sound like they do.
I also think that the way that Link Jarrett answered those questions seemed to indicate, obviously, that that's a guy that was really excited and interested in talking with Florida State. He had to try to thread that needle, that fine line of, hey, I'm here, I'm locked in. It's the College World Series. These guys mean the world to me. We've come a long way together. I'm so proud of them. I don't want to disrespect them and their opportunity that they have here out in Omaha by being distracted by this other thing. But I also acknowledge that other thing is real. And it's something that I'd be foolish not to admit interests me. I mean, he doesn't say interest, but he doesn't deny that that's a thing that's been on his mind. So once you cop to that, I think you're basically telling people, yeah, man, I'm going to get an offer from my alma mater that I grew up as a kid in Tallahassee watching and dreamt of playing for, and then did, and have always wanted to come back, so much so that I applied for the job when it was open last time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that's kind of, to me, it's just a good indicator that he's coming.
Link, what is your interest level in staying here at Notre Dame? Well, these kids are global leaders. These kids around me are future global leaders. I can't wait to watch them excel in the world of finance, in politics. These kids they're really something else. It's been a privilege to be their coach this year. I really root for these kids.
Yeah, that was one of the great answers. I was like, there you go. Well done, sir. Well done. Hey, this is funny. Preston, I hope I run into him. He asks in the chat, Jeff, speaking of you and the high net worth individuals that you associate with, do you have any bets for next year with the solar panel mogul guy? No, but I did tell everybody that he paid up. He paid up the second the clock struck 0 and Kansas City went over the total. This was 2 years ago now, I think, of wins. He had said, I think, fewer than 11 or 10 or something, and I said over, and whatever the bet was. I have it still on my phone. I can look it up. But the point would be, I wondered as the year went on and it was clear that Kansas City was going to soar to the over if he was paying attention. And the day that they surpassed that number, I got a text wanting to know my Venmo or my PayPal, whatever it was. And I said, okay, buddy, come on, let's go. And it was in my account. He's a man of honor, that mogul, that that solar panel mogul.
I think it needs to become an active bit on the show, that because it's not a bit if it's true, I guess, right? But we've got to determine what is the wager that you want to pitch him. Then you pitch the wager, and whether or not you meet up for drinks at a happy hour or a coin flip for your life or your left leg or something like that, that's up to you. If you want to flip a
I had
leg,
fun with the coin flipping while we were there, too. That was great. Yeah.
It's up to you. But I think we need to pitch that. Like, what's the wager with the mysterious solar panel guy going to be? And I'll bet you he takes it. He just sounds like he'll take any side of any bet just to do it.
He likes the juice, Tom. I could tell right off the bat he likes the action. If the man is talking to a total stranger whom he sees watching golf on the TV, a midweek game, not unlike the Travelers, for example, that's being played today. He is an observant man. He looked at the end of the bar, saw yours truly watching with great intention to the Travelers Championship on a Thursday afternoon and thought, who would be doing that? Perhaps somebody that's invested in the results of the Travelers Championship. And then the talking began. And before that conversation ended, we were betting on coin flips. I'm actually really proud of that day. Yeah, Not only did I win the money from the football, but I thought I took him for his word. I took him at his word. He's just a guy that likes the action. Come on, I'll bet you on a coin flip. Let's go. Let's go, buddy.
He found the right audience to bet a coin flip, though. I think that's also the other thing is like, you know what? He's driving to whatever solar panel project he's got on
I-10.
Yeah, well, or on South Carolina, wherever he's going, and the guy is in the car. This guy doesn't shut up. But then he said something interesting, which was, I found somebody to take my coin flip bet. You believe that?
Yeah.
I found a guy, Tallahassee. He took me up on it. That's right.
Yeah. And I beat him, by the way. I won an unprecedented 8 out of 10. That's crazy. He had to have been like, what the hell is going on here? It's a 50-50 proposition. My man's got me 8-2. I said, you want to keep flipping? Come on, let's keep flipping, buddy. I'm hot right now.
Buddy, I told you this story. I won't obviously reveal who, where, or when, but in the last year, we'll go with the last year, I saw a coin flip for $2,000. Two people that we know flipped a coin for 2 G's straight up. It was the most exhilarating thing I've ever seen as the coin was in the air. It felt like a slow motion Zack Snyder moment where you're just seeing.
at the end of the Norm Macdonald book that he wrote a couple years back, there's this tender moment. I think I posted it right after he passed away. There's this tender moment where the last chapter, the whole thing is hilarious. The whole book is out there. It's mixed with truths and stories and things that didn't happen, and you're trying to figure out what's what. But at the very end, he's alluding to his gambling addiction and talking about the moment of truth when you're playing craps and when the dice are on the table and you become the center of the universe. And it hits the felt, and you look at the faces of the people around, and it's so good. It'll crack you up. I love it. But it's actually oddly tender because you're like, oh, you've got a real problem, but you acknowledge it, and it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's kind of perfect that way. I would advise people look it up. All right, when we come back, we have to solve for the future. We'll do that next. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Been indicted on multiple charges connected to campaign contribution fraud before and during his 2018 run for governor of Florida. Gillum has 21 counts against him. He is facing charges of conspiracy, wire fraud, and making false statements to FBI agents. Sharon Letman Hicks was also listed as a defendant in the indictment. It alleges that between 2016 and 2019, the two conspired to commit wire fraud by soliciting and obtaining funds from various people and companies through false promises that the money would be used strictly for the campaign. The indictment also says the two used third parties to divert some of the money to a company Letman Hicks owned. Then she would give the money to Gillum, disguised as payroll payments for his personal use. Over $56,000 was paid out to Gillum. Both Gillum and Letman Hicks entered not guilty pleas to the charges during their first court appearance Wednesday afternoon. The two were released to await trial, which is now set for August 16th. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. A heat advisory continues until 8 p.m. tonight. Daytime highs approaching 104 this afternoon under mainly sunny skies, northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies again tonight, lows around 78. Chance for scattered storms tomorrow, highs around 102, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 100.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pastor Tabner was alone with a female church employee. She in a towel and he in his boxers. The charismatic 41-year-old Hurley explained the two of them had been making chili and gotten food on the plate. With the hot dogs that they were making, we are hoping that the pastor used the right condiments.
I think there was at least one hot dog involved.
I don't know what you're talking about. We were just making chili dogs.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network.
All right, so it's time to solve for the future with our friends, obviously, at ISF. We do it every week. It's been a great partnership with ISF, and it continues to be. And I want to thank them publicly for supporting the Jeff Cameron Show and for Warchant TV and 93.3. Means a lot, and they've done well, and I hope that they are doing well by us as well. This is the time of year, by the way, where ISF reminds you that here we've rolled now into hurricane preparedness month, if you will. There's an official hurricane preparedness week, which we obviously did an ad for earlier, but that's true basically of the entire month of May and June. And the experts at ISF remind you to be prepared when hurricanes and other disasters strike. ISF partnered with the second harvest of the Big Bend. They were able to hand out free food, hurricane supply buckets. This happened a while back, but you need a supply bucket. You need some of those essentials. You need to be prepared through the hurricane season. ISF reminds you to make a plan, build a bucket, be prepared. Visit ISF.com for more. ISF, solving for the future. Now, obviously, we hope that none of us has to utilize that plan or bucket. Knock on wood. It seems like we've certainly had to more often than not over the last several years, but I am crossing my fingers that that is not the case, Tom, that we get into football season and we have no such storms on the horizon. I would say that a big part of solving for the future as it pertains to Florida State for this ever important season that we have continued to talk about week in and week out is getting the most out of the aforementioned offensive linemen that we've brought in. Turntine and Dimitri Emmanuel, two guys that I think if they come in and play well and we get the most out of their ability to go along with Bless Harris, to go along with perhaps Caden Lyles, Tom, that you could revamp the entirety of your offensive line. And if you do that and those guys play well, you did bring in probably the biggest difference maker from an explosiveness standpoint in Trey Benson. And if that happens, Florida State will not have to put together these lengthy, arduous drives. They won't have to do the thing where it's 14 plays, 16 plays to get into position to score some points. They may have a game changer that lights up the scoreboard, as coaches like to say, in the form of Trey Benson, especially if that offensive line is better than we think it's going to be, or those players are guys that can come in and start and elevate the floor for this offensive line, and you have realistic depth.
Yeah, the other thing, the wrinkle that I'm interested in this year is if you go jumbo on third and short, third and goal, fourth and short, fourth and goal, could the jumbo include a sixth and a seventh offensive lineman? Like that's something where I don't even know who the option would have been last year. Like who's reliable enough to run off the sideline? Like, all right, there you go. They're going to the jumbo package. Here comes so-and-so. Now you've got options that if you want to overload, if you want to play closer to the line of scrimmage, you bring in and tell a defense and dictate what a defense does pre-snap, and then you get into the option game. The more offensive linemen / tight ends who can block that you bring in, the easier it is for a quarterback to make reads off of that and to declare and to do what he needs to do to become an explosive player. So it's not just about a starting five for me. I think you're actually adding more multiplicity here in what the offense can do because we haven't had a tight end who can consistently block. So when you don't have linemen that can block and you don't have tight ends that can block, I don't care if you bring a sixth offensive lineman on the field if he's competent. I think we're getting to the place now where if you have some development with some of the younger guys, you might have 8 competent offensive linemen available at any one given time. Maybe more if one of these freshmen comes along and can be out there for 3 or 4 snaps as a glorified lead back or a second tackle. I like what this does for the option game. I think this goes part and parcel with it. If we were a 4-wide team, that wouldn't do you much good except in very specific circumstances. But if you're trying to run zone read option, and it's almost like a triple option in the way that Jordan Travis runs it at times, if you have a lot of hosses on the line of scrimmage, that helps you pick your gaps and all that kind of stuff that you want to do. So I'm excited about where this could go. It's just you've got to find your starting 5, your best 5 first.
Yeah, by the way, it's exciting too. I'm very old school. I mean, to me, having the ability to run the ball when you want to run the ball, it's the most emasculating thing you can do to a defense. It is the most empowering thing you can do as an offense because it's the most physical aspect of the game. And you're giving away your intentions by formation and by personnel, and you're telling the defense, you can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about it. And there are teams who do that. There are teams throughout the country, no matter the system they run, that when it gets down to it in the second half of a close game and they have to put together a drive and possess the football, they fall back on the run game, the physicality of the run game, and they bludgeon and they batter and they wear down their opponent. We have done some of that. We have done some of it. It's how we got back in the Notre Dame game. There have been a lot of moments where you're like, look at this. We're able to run despite no balance. So if you have even a little bit of it, then, man, what do you have there? You have a real opportunity for some home run plays. You have some opportunities to draw guys up, having to deal with that, which then leads to the aforementioned home run plays. And you got a guy I think who could do something about it in Micah Pittman. Let's hope. Let's really hope that is the case. It's a fun brand of football to watch because it's intimidating and it travels. It travels. That's the other part of it. The passing game doesn't always travel. It's wholly dependent on a lot of factors. Your quarterback's got to be accurate. Your receivers have to catch the football and get open in one-on-one situations. You have to hope it's not a windy day or a rainy day. But running the ball, bludgeoning people travels just like defense travels. And that's how you can guarantee in these 50-50 games that you come out on the right end a little bit more often than not.
Yeah, bottom line here is you're better at each position across the board on offense this year. I think you're better. Trey Benson makes running back better. That was the one that I wasn't sure of until spring happened. That's going to work. So if you're better across the board at each position on offense, that creates more balance. And if there's more balance, that means that you don't have to pull a rabbit out of your wherever every given week for a 30-yard explosive run. Or you don't have to hope and pray that Jordan Travis scrambles and just has the ability to make two dudes miss in one phone booth in order to get you 6 yards on a 3rd and 5. You've got a chance to scheme up some stuff. And that's where, again, I have so much hope for this group because whether or not you want to credit some of this to Dillingham, it's mostly Norvell, though, I think. If they're able to craft explosive plays without anything other than a quarterback who can run around, what can they do if you're better across the board? If your offensive line has gone from below average to approaching average, if your receivers, you got a couple of them that can win one-on-ones, so they think twice about how they line up pre-snap defensively. Yeah, you do all of these things, and you got Trey Benson, who is a bruiser but also a home run hitter. Man, you might be seeing, it doesn't have to be as consistent or as consistent as we want it to be offensively. It could be more consistently explosive, though, and get you to those magic numbers that you need to win these 50-50 games.
Thanks to, again, our friends at ISF for their great partnership, and that is solving for the future. We certainly love to partner with ISF. They are a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida. I've mentioned that before, solving the future for state governments. They do so through strategy, process, technology, and they are a trusted advisor for state governments all around the country. They know the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. To find out more, go to isf.com. Shall we stay here and do probables or roll on Big River and come back and do probables? So who says what, Director Matthew?
Director Matthew gives a thumbs up. I don't even know what the hell that means.
Thumbs up is take a break, or thumbs up is do probables. He said do probables.
Right here. So we got just under 5 minutes left.
Let's do it. That's the trick when we're here, by the way, not in the studio, is I can't see my clock. So that's how we work. By the way, Rory McIlroy today, -8 at the Travelers. Have yourself another great day, Rory. He's having a tremendous season. He's 8 under. Xander Schauffele, 7 under. And also some other big names starting to creep in there, including who was that? I was just looking at it. Sorry. Webb Simpson is in there as well, moving up the ladder. Jordan Spieth just birdied. So we'll see. A lot of those better players, Scotty Scheffler in the bunch, didn't get out until later in the day. So that's your update on the Travelers. By the way, did you make a pick this week, Tom, for the Travelers? You got anybody?
Is Keegan playing? Because if he was, he loves that part of the country. I know he'd be coming down from being the hometown guy in Boston, greater Boston area, but he always plays well in Connecticut. So that would have been my pick.
All right, there you go. Here we go. Cue it up. Let's play some probables music, and let's get after it as we get going here. It's the 8th inning. It's Colorado 2, Miami 2. That game was started by Kyle Freeland and Braxton Garnett. Giants, Braves, Alex Wood, Kyle Wright. That game's in the 7th. The Braves lead at 7-4. In the bottom of the 7th, the Dodgers lead 8-1 over Cincinnati in a game started by Clayton Kershaw and Hunter Green. Also, the Pirates lead the Cubs. Hey, suck it, Cubbies. 6-2 Buccos. That game is in the 7th inning. Jose Quintana, that creep can roll man. Justin Steele. They're in the 6th between the Guardians and the Twins. That game is 1-0. Minnesota. Zach Plesac Devin Smeltzer. Cardinals, Brewers, Dakota Hudson, Jason Alexander. Mariners Athletics, Robbie Ray.
Hey.
Frankie Montas. Fromber Valdez goes for the Astros. Jamison Tyon going for the Yankees. Orioles, White Sox, Dean Creamer and Johnny Cueto. And finally, Phillies, Padres late tonight, Rangers Suarez and Joe Musgrove. By the way, Tom, just thought you should know, Joe Musgrove, of course, former Pirate who was not of much use to us, is 8-0 with an ERA under 2. Of course he is.
You guys suck at developing pitching, I guess.
It's just hurtful. It saddens my heart. I mean, Joe Musgrove wasn't great last year or the year before. He certainly wasn't great in Pittsburgh, but they have unlocked the key. Cy Young resides in San Diego, and his name is Joe Musgrove. It's ridiculous.
Whoever's in charge of getting the...
Well, they fired him. They moved on.
They get to the major league level, but whoever's in charge or was in charge, needs to be replaced with a new set of eyeballs because you've got like 7 stories like this.
Yes, Chad Kuhl is having a decent season. He's not 8-0 with an ERA under 2, but he's certainly having a decent season. It's frustrating.
So how is it that Dansby Swanson is now one of the best sluggers in baseball? Dude's crazy this year, and he was one of the reasons they were going to lose the World Series if they didn't go all the way last year. He was a liability. What has happened to Dansby Swanson? It's pissing me off.
Perhaps steroids? It is wild and unfair speculation on my part. I don't know that to be the case, but I might suggest the use of drugs is aiding his endeavor.
That's a great answer out of you. I didn't even tee that up, but good for you. Yes, tie his name to steroids erroneously, or maybe not erroneously, maybe not at all.
We'll never know. We'll just never know unless he gets popped. But that said, he is having a great year. And he hit one off the end of the bat when he got totally fooled against Pittsburgh with 2 outs and the bases loaded in the game that I was at that fell between 3 people in no man's land down the right field line. And a bunch of Braves fans tweeted at me that he had done something exhilarating. And I was like, get totally fooled and look like an idiot, but luck into 3 RBIs on a play that should have never happened. God, it makes me angry thinking about it. But nonetheless, we weren't any good. I don't know if that's 20 seconds. I think that was, what's 1 minute? That's 1 minute. Okay, good. 1 minute. We're rolling on, Big River. I will just say this. Maybe, just maybe, we have the big news tonight. Go to warchant.com for the latest to find out if we hire a baseball coach. If not, my guess it would be next week because I don't think they want to do a Friday news dump. I don't think that's going to happen. So cross your fingers that we get news tonight in regards to Link Jarrett or whomever it is that's going to be the baseball coach. That is my hope. Good job, Director Matthew. Good job, Tom. Thanks for putting up with me, everybody. I'll be back with you tomorrow. COVID or no COVID, I'm here for you. We'll make it together. We'll get into the weekend together. Peace, everybody.